Hello, my name is Nicola Buxton and I'm a sculptor living in Cornwall. The work I tend to do is mostly three-dimensional, and I make work for myself which goes into galleries, and I also make work for other people as commissions, which is when they give me instructions on what they'd like me to do and I work with them on a certain project. I studied A-level art at school, and when I left school I actually went to university to do anthropology because I didn't think I was good enough for art to study it. And it was only after studying anthropology I then worked in Spain with a big painting studio and decided that I really wanted to carry on with art and loved it and did lots of things with different materials. And then I did a foundation art in London, and after that ended up at Art College in Falmouth. And that's where I stayed for a while to carry on doing my art, and that's where I want to be. Most of the work is three-dimensional, and I use things which I see really in the studio, but often they're from a framework of wire or steel or copper, metalwork, and then sometimes I use other materials with them, like paper, cardboard, sometimes other bits of steel or metal. I have worked with a variety of materials just which have interested me, which have got a certain history or background to them. And this can be interesting if I'm actually working on a commission as well, if it's particular to people what materials I use. Most recently I've been using wax as well and making things, constructing pieces out of wax and then casting them into bronze, and that's been exciting. Different process again. I also make drawings or paintings, drawings of the colour, because I find it really useful when I'm working out ideas, especially if I've got a lot of ideas in my head. And these, I actually call them drawings really because they're made up lots of different mark making techniques with pencils and crayons, and I use paper and collage, bits of collage in them. I often sand things back or build layers up with them, so they're almost like constructions, a little bit like three-dimensional work that I make. So I sort of make the drawings rather than paint them, as it were. My main inspirations is trying to catch a moment in time, thinking about the movement of things, and whether it's being a flag which is flying and catching it as it's in the air, or musicians playing in an orchestra and catching the moment of them all playing the music. Going down to the docks in Falmouth and catching the time when they're working with the cranes and the boats and buildings going up in process or buildings being pulled down, so it's difficult, a single moment in time. Or working with nature when you've got bees and beehives being constructed in the delicate way that they're formed. If I'm approaching a brief, this is how I go about it. The main thing is to find out what you're asked to do, work out the dimensions, how big it's going to be, how it's going to be seen. Is it going to be seen from a distance? Is it going to be seen from close together? And how heavy is it going to be? Is it going to be made of materials which are going to last forever and ever, or is it going to be materials which are going to only have a short lifespan? How much money are you going to be paid for doing this job? So that reflects what materials are going to be making it with. So the budget is very important as well. When I was given the brief for the National Maritime Museum, I visited the museum with my digital camera and my sketchbook, and I took a lot of notes and drawings and made some measurements of the space which I was asked to do the work. I also took away ideas about the museum to get the atmosphere and character, to think what would be suitable, what would be right in this space. And when I got back to my studio, I looked at all this and did lots of drawings to work it out, and then came up with some ideas. If I was to give you 3 top tips on working with art, the first one I think would be about communicating if you have a brief, to keep checking that you're actually keeping in touch, working out with what we want to do and what the other person wants. Secondly, make sure you enjoy the creative process, because otherwise it will show in the work, and don't get laboured down with things which aren't going well. Just take a walk and come back and try and enjoy the process of making, even if it's maybe quite a difficult stage. If it's not working, think of another way around it. And my third and final tip would be to allow yourself enough time, because it's a real shame when suddenly everything comes together at the last minute and you haven't got enough time to carry out all your ideas. So plan ahead and give yourself a false deadline if that's necessary. That's what I do sometimes.